Gym owners evolve over time as we learn new things and we gain some objectivity and we gain some maturity. Even as we gain some wins and some losses, our viewpoint changes. We think maybe I could have done that differently, or boy, I'm really glad I did that, or hey, I should have done that again. There's a lot of value in talking to long-term gym owners because you can learn the mistakes that they wish that they hadn't made, and you can also see the things that they've done over and over. But more than anything else, I think it's really important to read the mindset and the maturity of these gym owners and try to live up to their example. One of these great gym owners that's been around long term is Bill Russell, the founder with his wife Staci of CrossFit Cleveland. Recently, I went down to CrossFit Cleveland to do a presentation with Greg Glassman to help CrossFit affiliates there. And when I was there, my conversations with Bill and Staci were so deep and insightful that I invited them to come on the podcast. Bill Russell is almost a 20-year CrossFit affiliate. And today we're going to talk to him about the different stages of gym ownership, lessons learned, best practices, mistakes made. Bill's a great storyteller, so there's probably going to be some really funny stuff in there too. Bill, welcome to Run a Profitable Gym.
Hello, Chris. Thanks for having me on. It's a real honor.
Yeah, no, man, it's so awesome to have you on here. And I know you've shared with me like three things that you're very eager to share with people who are just starting out or thinking about opening a gym or they're just getting into it. But first, I'd love to just kind of get the story. Like what led you to gym ownership from a path in computer service?
That's a good question. Back in my 30s, I started to gain a lot of weight, and every year was just that extra 5 pounds. And I was approaching 40, and things were going bad. I was 40 pounds heavier than I am now, and
Wow.
I needed to make a change. It's funny, everybody has an aha moment, as they call it. You know what mine was? I bet you'd never guess. So
Getting on the scale.
I wore a suit every day
Yeah.
to my business. And I had a huge closet full of Hickey Freeman's very expensive suits, custom shirts, and at one at a time, they stopped fitting.
Oh
And it
no.
was one day where nothing else fit except like a pair of fat pants. And I realized I seriously could not afford to replace all this. It was just too much. And so I
Oh,
said, I got to get my crap together. So I went on a little personal fitness journey. It was started in martial arts. And fast
very
forward
cool.
now, I learned about CrossFit from one of my training partners in Hapkido, and he turned me on to CrossFit. And I realized, and I already got into what I thought was really good shape. I lost a lot of weight. I was working out. I was fighting a lot of training, but I found CrossFit and realized I thought I was in shape, but this one taught me. And and I had always tried to get friends of mine. I had a lot of golfing buddies, a lot of professionals that said that they nobody would come to my Hapkido school and Hapkido classes because they were worried about getting hurt. You know, they were all
Yeah.
golfers, and so I found CrossFit and I realized, you know what? This is going to be it. This is the way that people can train and get in really good shape and stay safe. This was the early days before a lot of crazy stuff happened. So that was really my motivation
Wow.
to start a business. It was a side hustle. It was a hobby like we all had back in those days. You know, I told my wife that Stacy's like, I think we should open one of these CrossFit gyms. And she thought I was nuts. Like, yeah, sure. Right. We had another couple that I trained with. They became our partners.
Oh,
And both the wives one night were like, oh yeah, you guys are going to open a gym. Sure. We scribbled it on a napkin. The proverbial business plan on a napkin really
nice.
started. And so rest is history, but we just jumped in.
Nice, man. So it was never like, I'm going to open a gym. What kind of gym should I open? It was like CrossFit creates an opportunity for me to own a gym. I'm going to do that.
Pretty much. Yeah. And I
Wow.
had no interest in a martial arts school because it's not a business
Yeah.
unless you're really, really good and you're training high level fighters. But it's when we started out, it was let's oath. I was reading the forums on the CrossFit website, which is they're gone now, but there
Yeah.
was a lot of good information. And I read everything that Skip Chase and Doug Chapman ever wrote about how to start a gym.
Nice.
And after a few months, I realized, you know what, this is doable. So the idea was, let's open the business. First of all, we have to prove the concept. We can talk about that, how we did that.
Yep.
But we opened, and the plan was initially, let's get a gym that's paying for itself. The four of us, meaning my wife and I, our original founding partners, husband and wife, we could have a really cool place to train ourselves and have our friends come, and it would pay for itself. And maybe it would make a little bit of money so that we could fund our IRAs.
Right.
That was the original idea. And that was as big as you could hope for back in 2007.
Wow.
And so CrossFit, when I found CrossFit, was like, we can do this on a shoestring budget, bootstrapped, prove the concept, and let it go. Let's see where it goes.
Well, and I think honestly, these three things that you're going to share in the startup phase, that everybody from like, I'm going to open in 5 years to I've been open for 5 years, I think they should pay very close attention to these three tips. So Bill, like let's segue there first. You just mentioned proof of concept. What does that mean?
Well, we all have ideas and we all have passions and we want to do this business, but to you have to prove the concept, meaning will people pay you for what you are going to do?
Yeah.
And if yes, will they pay you enough to be able to make that a sustainable business? And maybe it doesn't have to be a sustainable business. Maybe that can be your side hustle. Okay, I've been doing side hustles before that term was ever thought of. I started my first business in my early 20s, and it was a side hustle. It proved a concept before I went out on my own. And so when we got to the CrossFit stage, I did the same thing. See, you and I are a little different in that when you started, we started about the same time,
Yep.
but you had been a personal trainer for what, 5 or 10 years?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So you were the trainer that didn't have the business experience, as I've heard you say that.
Yeah.
I was the business owner, the person who had a very successful, had built up a business from nothing, knew how to do that, was not afraid of signing leases, not afraid of the risk. But I wasn't much of a trainer. I had been an instructor in our Hapkido school for the previous 4 years. So I understood the group fitness concept. I understood you show up, you do what the guy tells you or the girl tells you, and you get results. It was the same parallel kind of thing. But I wasn't a trainer or
Okay.
coach. That was our business partner. He was. He knew
Oh,
nothing about business. He knew nothing about business. And like the thought of signing a lease was like, what? Are you kidding me? It's like, I said, look, I'll handle that. You make sure you give us the legitimacy on the training side, and we'll all grow it together.
yeah.
But the proof
Very
of
cool.
concept was important. Instead of we didn't just sign our lives away and think, I hope that people will come and pay us.
So how did you prove the concept before you signed the lease and took the big leap?
We did the park workouts. It's a pretty common story for early CrossFit gym owners.
Yeah.
We affiliated back in those days. You can get affiliation before you even had your L1.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yep. So April 12th, the only reason I remember it's my birthday. I sent in our application to Nicole or to HQ. Two
Yeah.
days later, April 14th, we get the email back from Nicole like, hey, welcome to the club. So we got our approval. Later that month, the last week of April, we were already scheduled to go to Doug Chapman's place in Ann Arbor to get our L1s.
Yeah.
So that's how we started. The when week we got back, we started our very first workout in the metro parks, not far from where we originally opened.
Oh,
We had
cool.
my wife's father-in-law had a old beat up Ford pickup truck, an
Yeah.
F-150, that was probably not even worth as much as the affiliation fee that year.
500 bucks.
Old Bessie, yep. And we loaded up. We made some stuff, and we found a place in the Lakewood Metro Parks.
Very
Underneath,
cool.
there's two bridges, a highway and a street. So we had rain cover. So in the Metro Parks, we could have rain or shine workouts because if it rained, we were covered. And every Saturday I think it was 9 o'clock, we just started advertising all over whatever social media was around then.
Yeah.
And we started getting people to come up. I think we had 12 people show up our
Wow.
first week, but I think 8 of them I knew.
Yeah.
And people just kept coming back.
That's
One
cool.
day a week. We did that all summer. And towards the later summer, early fall, we had a great crowd. Every week there were people. And we start to think, well, it's going to get cold here in Cleveland pretty soon. We got to get a building. And we started asking people, would they pay? And people were like, yep, we pay. This is awesome. Now, just because they say they'll pay doesn't mean they'll pay.
Sure.
But at least we had some traction going.
Yeah. So that's step one is like proof of concept. And I think that's a step that's quite often skipped. By the way, if you're fairly new, like within the last decade of fitness, the reason that you maybe haven't heard this stuff before is because it's been like lost in the annals of history. But also because if you look at especially CrossFit affiliates who are like 15 years old, they've usually been through two or three owners by this point. Bill and Staci are the original owners of CrossFit Cleveland. And so instead of having just 5 years of experience repeated three times, they actually have the entire arc of gym ownership experience. So the first step was prove the concept. And then the next step, I believe it was start small, right, Bill?
Yes.
Okay, tell us about
Um,
that.
and we had the benefit or the luxury of being able to do that because there were no other group fitness gyms around.
Mm,
Uh, so we didn't have to open up with a bunch of shiny, fancy equipment. Today, I think it's a little more challenging because if you're going to open up in an established market, you do have to come out with, you have to have a pretty impressive facility or people might not recognize you as
right.
something different. So
Yeah.
that's a little bit of a challenge, but you don't have to go and spend a couple $100,000 on equipment and make sure everything is spit shined. Just it's like the old Glassman days. Like you start small, lean and mean. The biggest thing though is to let yourself give yourself some room for mistakes because we're all going to make them. I always say like we're starting our 20th year in April of 2026.
Wow, man. Congrats.
So, but that doesn't mean we're better than you because we've been around. It just means a couple things. It means I'm old, and it means that we've made more mistakes than most people. I mean, we've made them all, and you got to be able to pivot. And
Yeah.
so, if you don't give yourself room for mistakes early, you're really handcuffing yourself. Like we had a very low rent, and I made a masterful lease when we signed up initially. It was awesome, a way to start up, and I can give you some tips later that might help newer people.
Sure. But when
Um,
you say when you say room to make mistakes, you mean financial room, right? Like okay, if I don't get my 30 clients in the first 3 months, I'm not going to be bankrupt. Or if I screw up X, it's not going to kill me.
yes, obviously financially, so you're
Okay.
not not burning money that you might not have in past your reserves, but also just the ability to shift maybe the market that you're serving. The other comment I've written down is just to know that your target market, the people that you think you want to serve and the way you want to serve them, it just might be wrong. You might be right, you might nail it on the head, but this goes back to my first business that I started in my 20s. I had a particular market and services that I wanted to provide that I thought were not being met and I thought was going to be the most profitable for me. And within 2 or 3 months of being in business, I started to realize that the market that I picked was not the best.
Hmm.
There was a market out there that was like they were like, no, we need you to do this. And I'm like, whoa, that's not what I got in for. It was similar, but I don't need to go into the details, but just understand that I had to pivot. And if had I put everything into this, and I realized, ooh, that's not the market that I thought I was going to serve. This is it. I wouldn't be able to pivot. And it happened to us with CrossFit too. When we opened CrossFit Cleveland, we had two distinct demographics that we were going after. And guess what? Both of them busted.
What were the ones that you thought you were going to have?
Okay. So I was in my previous life, a computer executive, if you will. I was a golfer, a club player. All my friends, I figured, hey, they'll come to my gym because they wouldn't come to our Hapkido school, but they're going to do this CrossFit thing. So
Hmm.
I have this built-in they're like a market of the more affluent people on the west side of Cleveland that can afford this new CrossFit thing. And I know them. And guess what? They didn't give a rat's ass. It was like CrossFit. No, you're the guy that does that martial arts stuff. Well, this has got to be crazy too. It just it
That's
didn't
funny.
it didn't pan out. And you know what? So that was one. The other, our original founding partners, the man, his name's Paul. He was a police officer, and he ran the police academy. He was a tra-
Oh,
he was a legitimate trainer. He's a badass. He was the one that introduced me to CrossFit. And our other market was we're going to get people who are going through. They're going to sign up for the police academy. and they need to get in shape before the academy.
Yep.
And it was a perfect way. It's kind of like people like get into shape before they go into service.
Yep.
So it's like, cool. And it was legitimate as hell. So it's like, all right, he can handle that crowd and get them prepped for the academy, and I can handle all my country club boys, buddies. And that one fell off. That was just it shit the bed. We had, you know why? We didn't think of it. And I did. I thought, well, you know that world. I can work. I can deal with my guys. You
Yep.
deal with yours. Well, there was no way to find the applicants' names before they got in.
Of
We had
course.
we
Yeah.
had absolutely no way. It would have been perfect.
Yeah.
It looked great on paper, but there was no way to contact those people beforehand. And especially in 2006, when we were putting the plans together in 2007, it wasn't like we could go on Facebook ads and target a particular market.
Sure. Wow.
So it just, but we were able, we did start getting people that wanted to just get fit, just regular people. And had we been really, if we had some room to pivot, that's all. And we did. And both those markets were wrong.
What would you say is your target market now?
Over the years, I'd always looked at, is there a particular age range, or what's the consistent piece? Because, Staci and I are older than the average CrossFit gym owners. And, I started when I was 45. She was in her late 30s then. And what I noticed over the years, that it seemed like it was when people came up to a decade change in their life. So the
Huh.
college kids going towards 30, they were going to be 30 in a year, like, whoa. And it was like we had a lot of people 38 or 39. Hey, I'm coming up on 40. I'm coming up on 50. I'm coming
Mm.
up on 60. It was just some marker in their life that made them go, I got to get off the couch and do something. And then
Wow.
what they did is they found us and said, hey, it looks like a bunch of regular people that are there. And they saw people in their late 20s and their late 30s and their late 40s and their late 50s, and they felt it was a safe place.
Wow.
So
Very cool.
but so it was more what was in their head because of those, what would you call, life markers? And
Yeah.
it's still consistent today.
When I was at your gym a couple of weeks ago, the vibe, I mean, the people in the morning group, wide spectrum of different people, shapes, sizes, everything, but very fun. The whole group just seemed like they were having a ball.
Yeah, I wish that more people would realize that when they hear about CrossFit, they just immediately tense up and go, "Oh my gosh, that's dangerous. Can't do it. It's
Hard.
too
Yeah.
hard. I'm flipping tires every day." Like, come on. What we do is we're regular people that want to get healthier. We're the original focus of CrossFit that Greg wanted in the beginning. Regular
Yep.
people just getting in better shape, longevity, keep staying strong, but then doing it as a community.
Yep.
And there's
Yep.
the CrossFit for sports side that is a legitimate business. It's just one we're not in.
Yeah. Me neither. Let's pivot here, Bill. So, you've got the first kind of 5 years, you're making mistakes, but you survive them because you've got this room to grow and make mistakes. And you pivot and you shift. The middle frame of gym ownership is probably mostly to do with staff, right? And I'm sure you were tempted to expand or contract or to change things, and you probably had to manage a lot of staff. Do you have any tips for gym owners who are kind of in that range, that we call it the farmer phase of business?
I guess one of the things that we learned in the fifth through 10th year the most is that you can't be everything to everybody.
Mm.
And you've got that was when CrossFit, the competition piece, was growing so fast. And that's why, gyms were opening up everywhere and people were just knocking down the doors. Early days, we had to teach everybody that walked in the door, what's CrossFit and why should you do it and why should you pay
Yeah.
this, right?
Yeah.
And then in the middle, it was all, we're CrossFit, and people are knocking down your door because they want to do that stuff they see on TV. And then full circle come now, every person that walks in our door, we got to teach them what CrossFit is. And more importantly, what it's not.
Oh,
That it is regular people getting in better shape, and you're not going to get hurt. And you don't have to do that crazy stuff you see on TV. But in the middle there, you're trying to, it sounds good on paper. I'm going to have a competitor side. I'm going to have a barbell club. I'm going to go really elitish, the elite athletes here, the
yeah.
CrossFit Games wannabes, and then I'm going to have regular people. and I
Yeah.
can serve them all. And you know what? Some gyms can do that. I never could. We tried. It's two separate businesses, it's two separate crowds. I know there's going to be people, your listeners, I lost half of them. They're like shaking their head going, oh, dude, we can do
There's
it. But,
not many.
more power to you. But
Yeah.
it's, you got to pick one or the other. And look, it, there are gyms out there that focus on the CrossFit competitive athlete, and they're great. But I don't believe that the regular people crowd is as strong, and vice versa.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and
Makes
so
sense.
and so what I tell, when you walk in my door and you say, I want to go to the CrossFit Games, or I love fitness competitions, I want to do thruster races for the rest of my life. I finally found out who to give credit that term. I thought it was Greg. It's really Brian. I'll send him to another. There's another gym. There are two gyms in our town that one stands out above the other because they're still CrossFit affiliate. If you
Yep.
want to be a games guy, if you want to be games guy or girl, I'm sending you there.
Oh, that's awesome.
And hopefully that guy is smart enough that when he gets the person that's better suited for my gym, he'd go, yeah, you go see Bill and Staci. They're probably better for you. And not to say we're easy. My gym's hard.
Yeah.
It's just not focused on the competition because they're really at odds. If you train CrossFit for sport, for serious sport, and you're training for health and longevity, there's so many things that are at odds that you
Yep.
can't focus on both
Right. Okay.
very well. And I haven't. So, and we came to terms like we're not a CrossFit a competition sport gym.
That's awesome. So in that kind of middle phase of gym ownership, most of the challenges that gym owners have kind of revolve around staff. You don't have to be specific, Bill, but like, are there any hard lessons that you learned about staff that, looking back, you think, boy, I wish I could have avoided that, or might help another gym owner to understand like how to avoid certain staffing or management problems?
Yeah. Well, out of all the areas of business operations, marketing, that coach development, I'm probably the weakest at. Stacy's better because she's just
Mhm.
more personable. I've made a lot of mistakes there. One though is that we've learned is you don't want to settle on a
Mm.
bad coach. Um, but it's hard. One of the challenges for us, I think for all of us group fitness gyms, is finding good staff that really care. And when you get one, you're like, okay, good, I got a person. They can run my Thursday morning class, and then all of a sudden you're like, they're not quite right, but I'm going to help. I'm going to make them right. And
Mm.
it's not it's I can't. You're not going to attribute this quote to me, but it's like hire slow, fire fast.
Yep.
Make sure you pick the right person, and then if they're not right, get rid of them. But it's really hard because we all know every CrossFit gym owner listening, 99% of them are going to know. They're going to say that we become friends with our clients, become friends with our coach. Such a personal, hands-on business. It's not like owning a big box gym where you don't know anybody. And so when you lose somebody, or when they switch, or when you have to have a difficult conversation, it's more difficult because it's such a friendly environment. And so
Yeah.
early on, we were friends with everybody. You asked about mistakes. We're friendly. I care about everybody that I deal with, coaches and staff, but they're not our friends. They're not coming over for happy hour on Friday night at our house. It's better to keep that little bit of separation,
I
um,
get that.
because then when something isn't quite right, it's a little easier to have that hard conversation. Now, fortunately, and I'm knocking on, here's my thing, knock on wood, our coaching staff right now is better than it's ever been.
That's wild.
But it's like it's gone through fluxes. Um,
I'm glad to hear that. Like, it's important to keep that separation. Like you, I try to be friendly with everybody in my gym and everybody on my staff, but I also am very conscious of keeping a bit of separation there, right? Like, I don't go to my clients' houses for dinner, and it's because that might stop me later from making a hard decision that was necessary for the improvement of my gym. I can remember actually a client, we were invited to her wedding and we decided not to go. And within 2 months, I had to kick her out of the gym because she was just, a nightmare. And I can't imagine if I had gone to that wedding, I would have felt like I need to give her more chances, more time, more leeway, and that would have negatively impacted everybody else in the gym. So, I think this is personal for people, but I need to maintain kind of a buffer between myself and clients and staff.
Yeah. And actually, it might sound odd, but I enjoy our staff are better and our members better when they're not friends.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's because there's no fuzzy line there.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I love about the small gym business like this is when you'd made a comment about we had a wide range of ages, but the energy level was there. Our people just
Yeah.
all get along. We don't have any cliques, zero. We've had cliques for years, and it's kind of hard to avoid, but we don't have them. Everybody gets along. It's like a family environment. I did a video a couple weeks ago about one of our younger members. He's in his mid 20s, great shape. And I asked him right on camera, I said, "Hey, Mike," I said, "how's it feel like working out with a bunch of people your parents' age?" And he didn't know it was coming. I have to publish this. He's like, "I love it because
Yeah.
it's like family. It's really is like it's not like oh the old farts in the corner slowing me down.
True.
It's our gym. It's a word that's overused a lot. Family, community. It's what you have.
Yeah.
And I think our age range, our wide age range, really plays in that. If you look at a lot of gyms, and there's nothing wrong with this, it's just natural that when you look at a picture of the group, they all look about the same.
Yep.
They're in the age range that's about like the owners.
Yep.
And yes, there's going to be this outlier and this outlier, but the majority, you go, they all look alike. And that's great. In my gym, in our gym, Stacy's gym and my gym, it's a wide range and they all get along great.
That's cool, man.
And
Um,
drama, no drama. Other mistake, drama starts coming up, you got to squish it.
well, let's talk about that for a minute. I think that's really important because in my gym, the only reason there's no drama now is because over time, those people have gone. And it probably took me 15 years maybe to get to the point where there's no drama in my gym, you know, but it's nothing that I did. It's just that those people eventually left. So is there a way to kind of like prevent that drama from happening in the first place? Or, when you say squash it, what do you mean?
I think that when you have multiple different demographics that you're serving. I've mentioned earlier, like the competitive athlete, the one that really cares about throwdowns and getting better and their score in the
Yeah.
open. And then you have regular people, and then you have maybe some the quote masters crowd, which we don't refer to masters, but the different populations, you start to get the segregation, and one of those are going to start feeling like they're second class, and one's going to start feeling like they're the reason that this gym is alive. I've had that several times in my career where there's been an elite athlete quote in my gym.
Yeah.
Guess what? They think the only reason that I'm successful is because they're at my gym. Like, well, thank you very much.
Oh yeah.
That's
That's classic.
you get it, and there are other people going, I know that guy, I know that person.
Yeah.
The competitive athlete, unless you're a competitive athlete, like a Rich Froning gym or a the big ones. They're great at that. And that's the environment you want to be in. You want to be taught by an elite athlete, and they're going to be able to know how to handle that. But I lost my train of thought.
Well, what's interesting is that when we were sitting at dinner with Greg, and I don't want to like quote Greg publicly in what was a private conversation, but it's just interesting that all three of us kind of said it's hard to name an elite athlete who is also an elite coach. And I think, an elite athlete can do a good job of inspiring and motivating people who want to be elite athletes, but they don't automatically have the ability to inspire and lead everybody else.
Yeah, that's a good
So
point. I learned that back in my Hapkido days. The people that struggled coming up through the ranks in the first 3 or 4 years to get that first degree black belt,
yeah.
the ones that struggled became the better instructors.
Yeah.
And the ones that were naturals, not to say that they weren't good, but they just didn't, they don't know the struggle. So here's the thing, if you're training people just like you, then you're going to be okay. But when you open up a gym like ours, you're going to start getting all kinds of different levels.
Yeah.
And if you haven't struggled, you really can't relate to that person who's struggling. And all of a sudden they become like, oh, you're a pain in the ass. I don't want to coach you.
Yeah.
So maybe that's part of it, is that the best athletes, either they didn't struggle earlier, it's been so long that they don't remember.
Yeah, I can remember a story out Jersey somewhere, and they had a coach on staff who had lost 200 pounds, and he was embarrassed because he couldn't do a pull up, he couldn't do a muscle up, he couldn't do toes to bar. I mean, he was still, 230 to 250 pounds, but he was down 200,
Hmm.
and he was really questioning, like, can I be a coach? But the more they shared his story, the more he became the one that got questions about what should I eat. It's like, holy crap, this person's actually done it. I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah,
So, Bill,
that's
what I'd love to move into now is, you're in the last 5 years probably of gym ownership now. Let's talk about transition and legacy and what happens now. Like, obviously, you want CrossFit Cleveland to continue. What are your plans?
so what we've been trying to do for the last 5 or 7 years, this is pre-COVID, obviously, is just to look at a transition or a succession plan.
Mm.
I don't ever plan on retiring, if you will, semi-retirement, as I like the term. I always want to work, but I don't want, as Stacy, I don't want her to have to work that much
Yeah,
longer.
yeah.
So, and it's been like, what can we do to leverage or take advantage of the last 19 years of running a gym and being able to, you know, to continue with those skills and the values of what we can provide and still have our gym run and
Yeah.
maintain. So trying to find it's a coach or a pair of coaches that can take it over. And that's been our plan. It's not an easy thing, but we're in the middle of that and it looks very promising.
Oh, cool.
And what Stacy and I are doing is trying to figure out what we want to do when we grow up. What's our next level? Can I can I move to a level like working with somebody like you to be able to mentor other gym owners? Is there something else that's out there that I can truly give a lot of value to and that
Yeah.
I would like to do it? So we're working on that. And Stacy's a healthy
Very
habits
cool.
nutrition coach. She's extremely good at it. And so one of the things she'd like to do is to be able to maintain that healthy habits coaching on a
Yeah.
remote and in-person basis.
That's cool. Yeah.
But there's no clear path. And I
Okay.
think that I mentioned to you, and I mentioned to a couple other the gym mentoring people that I've been exposed to. I think that's a service that you could provide helping people that are in that 10th, 15th, coming up on 20th year and go, what do you do where you're just not closing the doors or throwing it away and becoming another, picking another job, something that you can
Yeah.
leverage.
Yeah. That's a
Um,
good point. Historically, I don't want to talk about gyms failing because there have been just way too many of those. But when owners have tried to exit, and I'm talking successful exits, they can either sell it outright, they can sell it in a murky way, like they self finance the sale. They could also like give equity to somebody and kind of like coach that person. But there aren't a lot of people who have done it successfully where they've sold it, so all the responsibility and ownership is on the other person, but they have stayed on as kind of like a coach mentor person. Is that kind of the direction you're headed?
kind of.
Okay.
I don't want to give away a lot of the
Oh,
details
it's
because I
still
don't
still in
I don't want to
progress.
jinx it, but yeah, that'll be when we pull it off. That's going to be another podcast.
Yeah.
And what I am doing, we're working with Matt
Yep.
from Jim,
Matt Becker. Yeah,
yeah.
gym lawyers.
And part of what I'm looking at is making sure that the steps that we take, I'm paying close attention to what I'm doing, what we're being advised, and how we're maximizing the value of the business in the process. So that maybe that's my next step is to help other gym
Yeah.
owners because we've gone down the road a few times and it's just gone for one,
Yeah.
a couple different reasons. And so, and you're right, there are very few people that I know of that have done that good transition, but the ones that I do know of, it's been handed down or handed over to a coach so that you can maintain the membership. The key here is the members need to stay.
Yeah.
And if you if you put your gym out on marketplace and somebody comes by and buys it, all those existing clients are going to they're going to go, who are you?
Yeah.
You have to have them in there and kind of assimilated to have that transition go
I
smooth.
I think that transition is so new that there are very few people who've done it successfully. There used to be this old joke that I think also applies to gyms, and that's like the only two good days of owning a boat are the day you buy it and the day you sell it, right? And as a boat
Yeah.
owner, you
And
can
I'm
tell
up.
me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong there. But I think that there's probably this new age on us now where these gyms could be transitioned very well instead of out of frustration or failure.
Yeah.
Uh, Go ahead.
Most gyms that you hear that have sold, it's because it's a fire sale.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
get a kick. I get a kick out of hearing all these experts like, well, here's how you evaluate it. Here's how you do evaluation at a gym. It's your equipment plus 1 month's revenue, whatever. It's
Whatever.
like
Yeah.
that's what happens if somebody's failing and somebody's going under. You're going to go in and it's like a fire sale. There's the other side. That's a successful gym. Stacy and I have been running this gym for a long time as our only source of income. It's not like she's a dentist or a chiropractor and she's got an income
Yeah.
and I'm doing this a partnership, as a part-time thing. This is our living. And
Yeah.
that's a difficult thing to do. And you just don't, and that business has value
Yeah.
for somebody to come step in and hit the ground running. But Steve Rakow, I don't know if you remember him,
Yeah.
Ocean,
Absolutely. Yep.
and his wife, Kelly, Ocean City CrossFit.
Yep.
Yeah, he did a successful sale to a pair of coaches back in 2014, 2015, 2016, somewhere in that range, and they pulled it off. And so he was kind enough to give me some ideas, and we've kind of always had that same kind of blueprint that we've been working towards.
Very cool. I think it's key to adopt the mindset of steward. Like, your responsibility at this point, obviously, is to exit well and, be rewarded for the success you've created, but also to steward the community into the hands of somebody who's, going to grow it with new passion and energy. And that's always been the biggest challenge for me in selling a gym is like, I could sell it and take money and walk away today, but I do feel a responsibility to be the steward of the community.
Yes, and I do want to stay around. Like
Yeah.
I have personal training clients. Most of my clients are mid 50s or older. They've had injuries. They're recovering from something because that's what I've gone through that with a bunch of surgeries, and I
Yeah.
rehab myself, and now I know how to safely train the older population and keeping getting them strong. And I like that. And so I'm not gonna go away. I'm just not gonna be running the 5 a.m. class on Wednesdays and Fridays every
Yeah.
day.
All
So
guys like us have value, Bill. I mean, just today I had to shoot a video for a client on how to use lifting straps because nobody in my gym has used them for 20 years, and she has a forearm flexor injury and needs them. So, our memories are long.
yeah, interesting.
Well,
But
let's
I like go ahead. You're
no, let's
you're
go.
the
Let's
man.
go rapid fire here, man. Let's go rapid fire here. So, like, give me the top one or two mistakes that you see new gyms making that are avoidable.
I think maybe the owners, it's more about themselves and what they can do than what they can do for their clients. It's
Okay.
it's not the letters behind your name. It's not the credentials that you've built up. How much you care. It goes back to what Greg said early on. He put his hand on every one of our shoulders at least once, saying, care, care for your clients and succeed.
Yep.
And you just can't teach what other thing with coaches. You asked about coaches over the years. Don't hire your coach just because they're the best athlete. And you touched on that. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be the best. It could be, but they have to care.
Yeah.
And if you don't care about the progress your clients are making, I don't care how many letters you have after your name. I don't know how many years you've been doing this. People are going to see that you're not genuine and you're just not going to be that successful, especially as an owner. You got to care.
If you were going to give a gym owner advice on staffing, one thing you could only tell them one thing about staffing, what would you tell them?
As far as a coach,
Yeah.
maybe find coaches that complement you.
Mm.
Things that I can't do. I one of my claims to fame, and I put this to use a week and a half ago. I have coached more people through getting their first ring muscle up than anybody I know who cannot do a ring muscle up themselves.
Amazing. That's
I've never been
great.
able to. I've
Perfect.
tried, and the people in our gym back in 2008, 2009, we had a muscle up contest, and I got so close. My body's just not built for
Oh man.
pull-ups.
Yeah.
My chest to bar is like I got to throw one back up. It's just my body's made for push-ups, not pull-ups. I could always do them, but not that was my weakness. And I could never get a ring muscle up. But guess what? I just learned by watching people, and this is what it helped through, I think, my Hapkido experience, and it helped me as a good instructor. Is I got a really good eye. I can see little things that somebody's not doing up to at speed. And so I know the couple things that rig muscle ups require. And there's a guy named Rick. He's a 10-year member of ours. Just he could do bar muscle ups, never do a ring muscle up. And I gave him 2 tips, and he got a ring muscle up in about 3 days.
Wow. I'm the
So,
opposite.
but
I did a
yeah,
ring muscle up at my level 1 back in like '07, but I was maybe the 30th person at my gym to get a bar muscle up. And it's just my posture is terrible, so my chest would hit anyway.
so anyway, it's fast rapid fire. I don't rapid fire. I go on
Yeah,
tangents.
me
Let's
too.
just I'm a big tangent person. But don't hire everybody just like you.
Yeah.
Like this person's got a different mindset. This person's better at this. Like Olympic lifts. I'm not. I'm there. Olympic lifting is not my strength. I know how to teach it. I've been certified, but there are better coaches that can perform it better and maybe spot that flaw
Sure.
better. So go to just hire to fill in the gap. Same thing with partners, and we could have a conversation about partners. Make sure your partner is complementary to you and not the same. Staci and I were a great team because the things I'm good at, she really either isn't or doesn't like, and vice versa. And
Hmm.
so between the two of us, we cover pretty much all the grounds in the operational side of the business.
I do think that's really important and also rare.
Yeah,
Congrats to you and Stacy.
yeah. And when we originally had our partners, we were very well rounded too back in the days, but we just had different goals. The other thing that new gym owners need to think about, like partners are great, but at some point, and it'll be early on that you're going to have different. Your goals are going to be a little bit. They're going to move,
Yeah.
and if you're not in perfect alignment, you're going to have struggles. And the big struggle is one partner is going to think they're doing more than the other, and so
Yeah.
they're like, wait, I'm doing more, and I should get more, and all of a sudden you start pissing about the money. And the other thing, and I learned this from a really successful friend of mine. Yeah, this is goes back to my computer service business. Because when you have a partner, or you're bringing on a partner, make sure that most people think about covering their butts if things go wrong. You want to make sure you know exactly what's going to happen when things go right. If they go way better than you expect, you're gonna have a divide also, and just to
Yeah.
have kind of a plan for what are you going to do. So our early partners was good in the beginning, but then I saw that CrossFit was going to be the way to go, and I I left the computer industry in the 2008 era. Needless to say, we built CrossFit Cleveland in the worst economic times that we've seen in the
Yeah.
last.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, I started in 2007. Look what happened in 2008. All my
Yeah.
golfing buddies, like some of these guys they were loaded, and they were all scared to death that they were going to lose their money. That's how bad
Yeah.
that financial crisis was in 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
So the company that I was helping run shut down. And it's like, I got this CrossFit thing. I think I can make it work. And
Yeah.
so I went full time in 2009 building this up. And that it was just a misalignment with our partners. They weren't interested in that, and there was
Yeah.
some contention. So we just bought them out.
Bill, what would you say, other than Stacy, is like the asset that you possess that has made you last this long and be successful? And I just, while you're thinking about that, I want to make a caveat for the listener here. Quite often, especially for CrossFit affiliates, HQ puts out this message that like success equals survivorship. Like if you're around for 15 years, you must be successful. They are not the same thing. Bill just said that this has been his and Stacy's sole source of income now for 15 years, whatever, almost 20 years. That's success. Just being around 20 years from now, that's not necessarily success. You can prop a gym up 50 ways from Sunday. Bill, what do you think is like the character trait, the skill, the personality? What is it that's made you survive and be successful for this long?
So that's a great question. I look into something that's consistent because I've changed as a person, especially through COVID. So
Maybe
my
that's it.
style is different. But I think the thing that's consistent throughout the entire time is our ability to pivot and change
Yeah.
when we feel that we're like losing touch with our clients, or maybe, people want something a little different. And we're not talking major changes, but to be able to not have to be right and like, this is what I'm going to do. We can pivot and make some changes to keep everybody happy and
That's
keeping
great.
them getting the results that they want.
I could name five more things: humility, curiosity, smarts, lots of other things. Like you're very, very good with interpersonal skills, patient, but I think just this like acknowledgement that you're not going to get it right the first time. You're going to have to pivot and be able to pivot without your ego getting in the way. I think that's an enormous lesson for all of us. I certainly didn't have that when I started. So, Bill, thanks a lot, man. And, I really encourage anybody who wants to talk about longevity and wants to talk about, building something that lasts, getting started, avoiding mistakes, to reach out to Bill at CrossFit Cleveland. And, he's always happy to help.
Good. I would like to sign off with just a couple of comments about you, if I could.
Okay.
Are we at
Yikes. I put my finger on the
so,
pause button. No, that's great.
so, a lot of people think I'm not a two-brain client, not a
Yeah.
mentoring client. We met over 10 years ago. Staci and I came up to your seminar in Boston, which was
Yeah.
awesome. It was one of our first steps to do something other than a CrossFit affiliate gathering.
Oh, cool.
And but I recommend you more than anybody, because I do get not as often as it used to be, but people contact me like, "Can I open a gym? Hey, you've been around for a long time. Can you give me some help?" I'll always help anybody. I don't charge for it. Anybody wants to contact me for gym advice, starting, selling, whatever,
Yeah.
I'll be glad to help. And you have always been that person. You help first. I don't have your help first book, but I do have this. Isn't that your first book?
It is. Yeah.
Brain
Yeah.
business. I didn't go
Exactly.
dig this up. It was on the shelf.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
but you are always there to help first. And I heard you made a great post within the last half a year that you said, you give everything away for free. What people pay you for is speed.
Yeah.
If they want to dig in, and I've consumed pretty much every piece of your free content,
Oh, thanks, man.
um, and but you're willing to help, but you're not a constant funnel. You're like,
Yeah.
you as a business owner, you do things to eventually get somebody, but so many other people in the business, the marketing people that are helping, it's like it's an immediate funnel. They'll give you something for free, but then you don't operate like that. You are as genuine as they come, and that's why I recommend the hell out of you. And I
Thank
want to
you.
thank you for coming to Cleveland, Rocky River, Ohio, last month for the affiliate gathering. It's our Midwest Regional Affiliate Gathering. When I invited you, I think there might only have been 20 people coming. Like the last two times
Yeah.
I've seen you, it's been in Chicago and you're talking to a room full of 1,000 people. So why the heck would Chris Cooper want to come to Cleveland for 20 people? Well, you did, because you just knew it was, I don't know exactly why, but thank you. And then we had Greg come. He was a surprise. I
Yeah.
had invited him. And guess what? He knew that there were only going to be about 20 people there too. He wasn't coming for a bunch of fanfare. And having the two of you at my gym for that affiliate gathering was just unbelievable. It speaks volumes to you,
Thank you.
what you're willing to do for the crowd. And the last thing, what I like about you, and maybe some owners here will pick up on this, is that you don't make divisive or polarizing posts on social media. And there's somebody out there, I don't know which high level marketing guru says, when you make a statement that's going to isolate 50% of your crowd.
Yeah,
And
totally.
you know what? And there's something to be said for that. Greg used to say that back in the early days. Like if he said, and I'm paraphrasing, if you're not pissing off half the people out there, you're not doing a good enough job. Remember him saying that?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Over the years, he's been consistent. He's always isolating the same 50%.
Yeah.
What some of these new guys do is they make a polarizing post about some exercise, some this or some that, and then they isolate half the people. And then next week they do another post, and well, they don't isolate just the same 50%. They chip away at it, and
Mm.
over time they have like 90% of the people out there going, I don't want to hear from that person, because
Yeah.
they're always divisive. And I can name names, I know them. So be very careful. You don't do it.
Thank
And I'm
you.
so proud that you don't.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Want to say hi to Stace?
Yeah, I do. Let's bring Staci on.
Yeah. I shouldn't have headphones. but she
That's
looks
all
way
right.
better than me.
That's all right. Yeah. Let's bring Staci on here.
Here's my
there
girl.
She is. Hey, Stace. So
Hi
here's the
there.
real reason CrossFit Cleveland has been successful all these years.
Yep, absolutely.
We already named you as like Staci. What is the number one reason CrossFit Cleveland has been successful? Well, it's Staci. All right. So
I can leave with one thing.
Yeah.
One of our coaches, Christian, he's one of our most entertaining. He's a great guy. We have a question of the day at the gym. One day, it was around my birthday. The question of the day was, what's your favorite thing about Bill? Like putting people on the spot, right? Guess what Christian said? My favorite thing about Bill is his wife, Staci.
Perfect.
And I think that goes throughout the entire CrossFit Cleveland community.
That's awesome. Well, guys, congratulations. Your success is multifactorial, but it's well-deserved. And I can't wait to see what happens next for you guys. Thanks for coming on and sharing so much wisdom with us.
Thank you, Chris. And I hope to see you in Chicago this year.
Fantastic. We will.
All right.
All right.
Awesome.
Take care.
Take care. Thank you.
Thanks.